Hello, I'm Paul Newton from Newtonian Game Lab. I'm the designer of Kaleid-O, my new game, and I'm here to show you how to play it. Kaleid-O is a very simple abstract strategy game for 2 to 6 players, and we have the board set up for a 4-player game right now, so I can teach you the basic rules. Basically with Kaleid-O, each player is assigned a color of piece that has a geometric shape. There are triangles, there are trapezoids, there are squares and rectangles, octagons, etc. Each player will get a number of pieces to start. For a short game, you have 16 pieces per player. For a medium length game, 24. For a long game, unlimited numbers of pieces can be used until the board is full. The way the game is played is each player in turn places one of their pieces on the intersection of lines on the board, including the intersections along the edge. And when they place their stone, they state any shape that is on the score sheet. You can see that there are a number of geometric shapes that score. You can score triangles, squares or rectangles, trapezoids, parallelograms, hexagons, pentagons, and octagons. The only shapes that will score in Kaleid-O are the shapes that are like the ones on the score sheet. So a regular hexagon with all sides equal or a regular pentagon with all sides equal would not count as a score. You need to find a shape that looks like this rupee shape hexagon or this engagement ring diamond pentagon to make that a score on the board. And then octagons are the hardest one to get. So going to the scoring of the pieces when you play. Here we have orange. He's had 3 turns and he's made a triangle. You'll notice that the white player with the trapezoid pieces has a piece in the middle of his triangle on a different juncture, but that does not interrupt the triangle that orange made because the pieces that score are defined by the player's own pieces and the lines on the board. Intervening pieces don't affect the score at all. Now if we go over here and we say that it's purple's turn next, here's purple taking the 4th turn and they go right here on the corner of this square. Now with this stone being the stone that was played this turn, the purple player made a square, but this purple player also made 1 triangle, 2 triangles, 3 triangles. So on the score sheet they would put hash marks 3 in the triangle box and 1 hash mark in the square or rectangle box. Another important aspect of the game is the Kaleid-O rule. When a player states the shapes that they've made, they then have to pass the turn. When a player passes the turn, if another player sees a shape that they formed with the dropping of their stone on this turn and they did not name, that player can yell Kaleid-O, point out the shape that was missed, and then take the points. For example, if the purple players scored this and said, I made a square and 2 triangles and I passed my turn, then the next player can say Kaleid-O and point out you missed a triangle here and take that triangle and mark that score on their own score sheet. The game continues with each player placing a stone and claiming the points for their shapes until all the players' stones are placed or the board is full, whichever comes first. At that time, then you do the final scoring. Each player will tally up the total number of shapes they've made and put that total here at the bottom. Then they will total up the number of shapes of each type, multiply it by the points for that type to get their points for that shape type. You'll notice there are 2 bonus points here. The first bonus section is the player who has the most different number of categories of shapes. So if you're playing and somebody gets 5 categories of shapes and another player gets 6 categories of shapes, the player with the 6 categories of shapes will get the 15 bonus points. Also, there's a 30 bonus point for anyone who can make at least one of every single shape on the score sheet. You can receive both bonus points in the same game. Once they've done all the shape types, they total up their total points here at the bottom. The winner is the player who has the highest point total, and if there are 2 players tied for point total, the player who wins is the player who scored that point total, making the least number of shapes. And that's the game of Kaleid-O. It's very straightforward, very simple, it's quick to learn. It can be a challenge to master the strategy. It gets quite complicated as more players play and the shapes multiply. A very fun game, and in addition to the basic board, this board is double-sided. On the back side of the beginner board is a more complex board for more advanced play, which is more dense with shapes and makes it for a more challenging game for more experienced players. For beginners, we recommend that you try a game or two without the Kaleid-O rule as you're getting used to finding the shapes on the board. That's also a good way to play with younger children who might get a little upset about their points being stolen. And there are some other alternate play rules, but that's the basics of the game. The Kaleid-O comes with all the playing pieces and this double-sided board. This is the beginner board, which I recommend you start with. And this is the more advanced board on the back side that enables you to have a much denser field of shapes to compete for. Both sides are very fun, but I do recommend you start with the beginner board and work your way up to the advanced board. In addition to the basic rules that I've explained, there are a number of alternate rules that can be very enjoyable for play. One of the alternate rules uses the wild pieces, which are the stars, which are included in the box, and the rules explain the use of the wild pieces. Those are shapes that each player gets one star and has to place that piece first, and then that piece can be used to make shapes for any color, any player's pieces. Another alternate rule that is in place is a rule that says you can eliminate the Kaleid-O rule for younger players or for people who don't like that kind of salty play. And then there's also a geometry teacher's version of the rules where you can use all forms of the geometric shapes, so all hexagons, all pentagons, all different regular and irregular shapes are scoreable. In addition to the basic board, we also have an expansion pack available that contains 4 additional boards that are designed with different combinations of the numbers of each shape. And these 4 boards come as a pack together, an expansion to make it so that you have a much broader range of boards on which to play Kaleid-O. Same rules, different board, new challenge. So that is how you play Kaleid-O, and I certainly hope you enjoy it, because at Newtonian Game Lab we like to make games where the reaction is fun.